This is a live stream for James Tripp Chaos Wave. Just checking out the framing of the shot. I got a request to do a video on procrastination. Now, it was a short message, could you do a video on procrastination? I assume it's not how to procrastinate. So I've done this video, I've called it 4 hacks around procrastination, or 4 ways to hack around the system. Now, first thing I want to say about procrastination is you want to understand how it works and what it's about. People assume that procrastination is just this bad thing. Most people assume that if they never procrastinated again, their life would be amazing. It wouldn't. We human beings, our minds are modular. There are different sort of agencies of mind that have different priorities, want different things for us, take care of different things. If one of the agencies of mind were to take charge and say, this is our priority, we put this above everything else, we'd probably die reasonably quickly. Hey there, Sabine, good to see you. So this is an important thing to remember. We have different agencies of mind, they have different priorities. This is part of the issue with procrastination. Second thing I'm going to say about procrastination is not natural. Procrastination is, it's created, right? It's created by us, it's created by our demands, it's created by the obligations we place upon ourselves. So I've often said before that obligation is the mother of procrastination, or the father of procrastination. Choose what you will. Hey Eric, how you doing? So what I mean by this is if you do not place an obligation upon yourself to do something, well, you either do it or you don't. There's no procrastination. You just do what you do. You don't do what you don't do. No procrastination. In order for there to be procrastination, you have to say, I've got to do this. I should do this. I really must do this. There's some kind of obligation that gets placed upon ourselves. There's a whole host of reasons we could go into as to why this might be. Part of it is to do with the complexity of modern life. We were not evolved to deal with this world that we created with, but yet here we are. But I'm not going to go too far down that path, because practically in this world in which we live, sometimes we go, right, I want to get that done, and we want to kind of make ourselves do it. All right, we want to place that obligation upon ourselves. We want to find a way of doing it. The last thing I'll say, other than obligation is the mother of procrastination, is a wise man once said to me, obligation is the procrastination. Said procrastination is the cry of the soul to be free. Okay, it's a cry for freedom. And that's what we're doing often when we've placed this obligation upon ourselves. We're just like, look, I don't want to do this, I'm not feeling this, whatever, so I'm going to do something else instead. You know, I used to procrastinate by making endless cups of coffee. I still drink a fair amount of coffee, but I usually drink it while I'm doing things now rather than drinking it to stop myself doing things. Chess, there's another one that I use, right? So often we pick things that are easier wins, that have quicker rewards. Okay, this is the other thing about procrastination. Often the task we're procrastinating about doesn't have an immediate payoff. All right, and there's something else that we can do that does have an immediate payoff, even if that's just the payoff of a little bit of pleasure, a bit of relaxation, of zoning out, or whatever it might be. All right, let's get on to these 4 hacks to kind of get round this, this problem. Okay, so first of all, obligation is the mother of procrastination. So first maneuver you can choose is to shrink the obligation. Okay, shrink the obligation. Give yourself permission to do less of what you think you should do, or to do just a little part of it. It's a really simple thing. So Sabine's saying she's procrastinating about doing the grocery shopping whilst watching this video. Fair enough. YouTube is a wonderful procrastination device, I'll admit. Right, so this idea of shrink the task, shrink the thing that you're going to do. Give yourself permission to do just a little bit of it. One area in my life where I've used this a lot is in strength training. I do some calisthenics strength training, and the way that I train, the idea is they're small workouts, they're high intensity, so you go to failure. it's kind of hard to push your brain to go to failure. Not the point where you think, like, I'd like to stop now, the point where your muscles really can't do any more. Now, sometimes I just really don't want to do that. It's like every part of me is like, oh, you know, do I have to? But because I've made this decision at another time, another place, that's in alignment with my goals in life, I go, no, right, I'm going to do it. But sometimes I just trick myself. I say, okay, I give myself permission to do one pull-up. Just one. Okay? Now, the vast majority of the time, once I've done that one pull-up, I won't stop. I'll do 2, I'll do 3, I'll do 4. So give myself permission to just do a little bit of the task. I say, okay, so that's shrinking the obligation. So if you think, oh, I've got to get through these 50 emails, give yourself permission to do just one. Okay? Shrink it. Give yourself genuine permission and be honest with yourself about this, right? So if I shrink the task, I give myself real permission to do just one email, for example. Okay, and if I choose after I've done that email to stop and do no more, that's fine. It has to be real. It has to be for real. Remember, obligation is the mother of procrastination, so that's what we want to outmaneuver. The vast majority of times for me, I'll do more than one email. I'll do 2, I'll do 3, I'll do whatever. So Sabine's saying here on the live feed that it's a sneaky method. It is. All of these are sneaky methods. They're tricks, they're hacks. Everything I'm going to share with you is a hack here. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to organize by time rather than task. Okay, organize by time rather than task. Now, most people have heard the term time management. Most time management systems are actually task management systems, and we are schooled to think in terms of tasks. Almost everybody has at least heard of, if not uses, to-do lists. And what's a to-do list? It's a series of tasks. Okay, I've got to do this, then this, then this, then this, then this. It's about doing a thing, right? So if I go, I've got to do my emails, I've got to get through my emails before lunchtime. That's a series of tasks, okay? Now, one way to hack around this is to think in terms of time rather than tasks, and time spent with. So instead of thinking I've got to get through X number of emails, you think I'm going to spend a certain amount of time with my emails, or I'm going to spend a certain amount of time with the grocery shopping today, right? You could even do it with grocery shopping. I've never thought about doing it with grocery shopping because mostly my procrastination is about stuff I'm doing in the office. So I'll say something else about to-do lists in a minute, by the way. What I will do is I'll carve out time. So recently I just put a book out, the Hypnosis Without a Trance book. Do I have a copy of it to wave at you to hand? No, unfortunately not. My bad on that one. But in order to get that book done, in order to get that written, what I wanted to do was carve out blocks of time to spend with the writing of the book. Time spent writing the book is the only way to get the book written, okay? So I would choose the amount of time, and it would be an amount of time that I find bearable. Could just be 30 minutes, could be 45 minutes. So we can do the shrink the obligation part with this as well. I'm just gonna spend 30 minutes quality time with the book. So if I'm doing this, I set a timer for that time, and I put my phone on airplane mode, and then I write a to-don't list, the opposite of a to-do list. And this is, I will not drink coffee, I will not check messages, I will not. And you can add anything on your to-don't list that you know you use as a procrastination device. Okay, if I need to go online to check some information, I will remain focused and follow no side links or notifications. Right, so you have a to-don't list. And then you show up inside of the time with the task, and you give yourself complete permission to do any aspect of the task that you want. So when I do this, if I'm doing time spent with writing the book, for example, if that's just staring into space, thinking about the book, that counts. Right? There's no obligation to put any particular words down or get through any number of words. So again, the trick here is about removal of obligation, but the creation of this time and energy container to spend with what it is you want to create. I'm seeing some messages coming up, but I'm not going to break the flow necessarily to address them all. And to be truthful with you, my eyes are changing, and I don't find it easy to read the messages necessarily. So forgive me if I don't pick up on your comment. All right, so that's another thing. So time over task. I'm going to put a little extra bonus in here as well. Because I know obligation is the mother of procrastination, I avoid to-do lists like you wouldn't believe. Right? I know they are the kiss of death for me. Anybody can create a to-do list right now that will bury them. Right? And if I create a to-do list and I look at it and my state drops, my energy drops, that to-do list isn't serving me. So I don't do it. I look after my energy, right? This is a really important thing in life. Look after your energy. Placing obligation on myself, I hate having a boss, even if it's me. So I avoid to-do lists like crazy. Now, the thing with that is sometimes it's good to help clarify, help to get clarity on things, to make a list of possible things. So I still use them, I just call them possibilities lists. And the difference between a to-do list and a possibilities list is the framing around it. A to-do list, you go, these are the things I need to do. I've got to do these things. A possibilities list, you say, here are some things that I could do. These would be difference-making things, right? Now, I do this because I know it's going to get long quickly, and if that was my to-do list for the day, I'd end the day thinking, I never got it done, right? I'll often do a possibilities list, and then I'll pick 2 or 3 big things to spend time and energy with, not tasks to get through or get completed. That's my choice for me, because I know this is what I need to do to keep myself out of that low productivity and procrastination zone. Okay, so suggestion number 3, or maybe number 4 if you take that other one as a suggestion as well. But on my list, suggestion number 3 is what's sometimes called a dopamine detox. Okay, hey Lawrence, how you doing? So dopamine detox. Some of my neuroscience friends would say, hang on a second, that's not really a dopamine detox. The idea of a dopamine detox is you stay away for a period of 24 or 48 hours from anything that you are doing reactively just to fill time or get pleasure, right? It's a little bit of asceticism. Okay, so that means no phones. That means no whatever it might be that you do that is just consuming to fill the bandwidth, to fill the channel, okay? For me, it usually involves a smartphone in one way or another. And I put a post up on Facebook just recently talking about this. And I think I said, scrolling. Your brain will do magic when you don't block it. Okay, so we fill our time in with scrolling. One of the things that I do is, like, for example, if I'm uploading a video, this one's going live, I might go, oh, well, I'll just go on my phone and do a little scrolling while I'm uploading. But if I'm doing that, my brain isn't creating. I'm consuming, I'm deadening my brain. But the other thing that we do is when we do a lot of these things that either bring us immediate pleasure or just tune us out, zonk us out, whatever. What we do at that point is we start blunting our dopamine system, so to speak. This is rather akin to if you eat a lot of sweet and salty food, then you sit down, you eat some vegetables, they're going to taste bland, right? The more salt you need, the more sugar you need, the more you need. Sugar begets sugar, salt begets salt. When you reset your palate, plainer things become tasty, right? And this is the point. This is the point. You want plainer things to become tasty. The brain doesn't like doing nothing. It likes to be doing something. So when we procrastinate, we don't just procrastinate by doing nothing. We procrastinate by doing something else, something easy, the equivalent of eating junk food for the brain, right? So if you fast from that junk food for the brain for a considerable amount of time, a few things are going to happen. One of the things is your brain's going to start making all sorts of interesting connections and creating. All right. This could be a bad thing for some people if they have an untrained mind, or a good thing if you have a more trained mind or a disposition towards that, because your brain can create pain and suffering and worry and fear and all sorts of things, or your brain can create in the realm of possibilities and exciting, cool things. I spent a long time training my brain to do the latter, so I like it to be clear to do those things. But you also reset the palette of your mind. And so those tasks that you were procrastinating about doing now become more flavoursome to the mind, so to speak. It's an interesting thing. You start to enjoy those tasks that may have seemed like drudgery before. So dopamine reset or a dopamine fast is a really cool thing to do. So Lawrence is saying it's very pertinent for him right now. It's very pertinent for me. And it is over and over again. You know, you're either on the path or you're drifting. In my life, I choose to live as a creator. That means I want to have a lot of output. I want to be making the differences I want to make in the world. If I block the channels, you know, if I just consume, if I go into consumption mode and shut my brain down all the time, that's not so good, okay? It might be nice, might be like hibernating in the cave, but it doesn't get what I want to get created in the world created, okay? So those are my choices around this. So the last thing on the list, and this one's a little bit more challenging. This is partly, you know, this is more a self-mastery topic, I guess, rather than a hack, maybe. Maybe it shouldn't be on the list. Is start to identify with agency, okay? Start to be a will. What I mean by this is people think they have a will. Oh, I have will, right? I have willpower, I don't, I have will. I can will this. But when you start being a will, when you start identifying with being a will, I choose. The essence of me is choice. That's the essence of who I am. Antonio Damasio, the neuroscientist, talks about three selves: our proto-self, our core self, and our autobiographical self. Autobiographical self is all the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves to make sense of ourselves in the world, the ego. The proto-self is a basic body map in the brain, but the core self is just a sense of I am and I can, really stripped down, free of content. But it's this sense of agency, an I that chooses. So I'm not saying we can live from this place 100% of the time. We do most of what we do outside of consciousness. But if you start bringing consciousness to the choices you make, right? This is an exercise. This is a developmental exercise, not saying you should live this way. It would be exhausting if you did. So one of the things I sometimes do is I give myself permission to do anything that I consciously choose to do, right? Again, see how we're hacking around obligation here. It's like you can do anything so long as you consciously choose it, okay? Now, I sometimes do this with people who have addictions, right? I will get them to identify what it is that their addiction, so to speak. Now, let's say I'm working with Gabor Mate, and he's often talked about having an addiction to buying classical CDs at one point in his life, okay, which I always find an amusing addiction. But let's say I was working with Gabor Mate. What I would want to do with Gabor Mate is identify for him what the payoff of buying the CDs was, right? What he was choosing by buying the CDs. And if it was a sense of release or relief or whatever, then that would be what he would be choosing, but he would be doing it unconsciously. So when you find out what you're choosing, so even with procrastination, if you identify, look, when I'm procrastinating by scrolling on Facebook, what am I choosing, right? And it might be, for me, often when I'm doing these things, I'm choosing checking out. That's what it is. That's why I use that metaphor of hibernating in a cave. You know, I'm a human being. I like life to be simple. I want to have a nice life. If I'm feeling like the pressures of the world, I want to go hide, right? So I want to know that I'm going to choose hiding, right? Or I'm going to choose, and it's not about a recrimination or judgment of self. It's just about being conscious about the choice. Yeah, right now, I'm going to choose hiding. I'm going to choose peace right? I'm choosing peace. Now, if I was working with somebody who was a smoker, for example, and they recognized that in smoking they're choosing peace, what I would want to do is I'd want to really check in whether that was true or just a story they've been unconsciously telling themselves. And are there other ways to peace? Okay. So another hack, I'll add it. I said there were 4. Okay, one more thing that I do. I give myself the permission to procrastinate by doing nothing. That's another hack that I will use. So if I'm about to do a task and I'm putting off doing it, instead of going, well, I'll scroll through Facebook for a bit, I'll say, okay, I'll do nothing, right? So I choose doing nothing over my procrastination activity. Okay, that's more of a challenge than it might seem, but then the brain starts to go, okay, oh, well, maybe I'll do that thing. But you see what I did there? I brought consciousness to it. I'm bringing consciousness to my choices. I'm not trying to coerce myself. I'm not trying to manipulate myself. I'm not trying to enslave myself. I'm doing the opposite. I'm respecting my own autonomy, highly respecting my own autonomy. Anyway, those are some of the methods that work for me. This has been a longer video than I intended. If you've got any questions about anything in this video or any feedback or any comments, please do make use of the comments section below. And, you know, you can like it if you like it. And if you're new to the channel here, you can subscribe. This is not a slick YouTube channel where there's a high production values or all of that. It's just me sharing some things that mostly align with the topic of personal mastery. Whatever that means to you, I know what it means to me. Maybe I'll do another video on that. Okay, thanks to everyone who's been on here live. Forgive me if I haven't acknowledged every single one of your comments. There's a balance there between interaction and the flow of the video. But I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day, wonderful rest of the week, wonderful rest of your lives, at least until we speak again.